Good morning, everyone. This is Debbie Royce, USA Niagara's Acting Corporate Secretary. I'd like to welcome everyone to this morning's meeting. Before we formally begin, I would ask you to please mute your lines unless you're speaking. We'll begin today by taking a roll call of our directors to ensure a quorum is present on the line. Please be so kind as to say present when you hear your name. Chair Francine Del Monte.
Present.
Director Scott Bridges.
Present.
Director Chandra Foote.
Present.
And Director Michael Williamson.
Present.
Thanks so much to all of you for joining today, and Chair Del Monte, you're ready to begin.
Thank you, Debbie. I'm pleased to call to order the meeting of the directors of the USA Niagara Development Corporation for Monday, June 21st, 2021. Before we begin with today's business meeting, I'd like to welcome our two new directors to the board and to today's meeting, Dr. Chandra Foote and Mr. Scott Bridges. Welcome, Chandra and Scott. We're so glad you're here with us. You know, for some background purposes, Chandra is the Dean of the College of Education at Niagara University, and Scott is the Business Manager for Ironworkers Local Number 9 in Niagara Falls. Chandra and Scott, on behalf of a longtime board member, Michael Williamson, the great board director, and myself, we're grateful and happy that you've both agreed to serve and look forward to your input on USA Niagara projects and activities. So please always feel free to comment. Now, I will ask that everyone mute their phone until you're ready to speak. Also, for the record, I will ask that anyone wishing to speak to please state your name before you begin. I'd also like to note for the record that due to public health concerns and as authorized by an executive order of the governor, this meeting will be conducted by teleconference. I will also note for the record that the public was given the opportunity to comment on the agenda items by submitting their written comments by 4:30 p.m. on Friday. I'd like to further note for the record that comments were received from the public concerning today's agenda items. The directors have received the relevant information, written materials in advance of today's meeting, and are free to ask questions at any time. Before we begin with the substantive portion of the meeting, I'd like to ask the directors whether anyone has any potential conflict of interest with respect to the items on the agenda. If so, I'd ask you to please make an appropriate disclosure on the record at this time. We will then be sure that you may recuse yourselves from any discussion or vote regarding such item. I just want to ask, can all of you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, I just want to make sure. Hearing none, our first order of business is the approval of the minutes of the March 22nd, 2021 directors meeting. If anyone has any questions, comments, additions, or deletions, please state those now. If not, I'd like to entertain a motion for approval.
Director Williamson, so moved.
And may I have a second?
Director Bridges, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. The motion carries. I'd like to now call upon Anthony Velardo to present the next item on today's agenda, a request for the corporation to adopt revised guidelines for the use, awarding, monitoring, and reporting of procurement contracts. Anthony, when you're ready, please start.
Thank you, Chairwoman Del Monte, and to the new board members. Welcome. We're very excited to have you as part of our team at USA Niagara. The first item for your consideration are the USA Niagara Procurement Guidelines. In July 2020, the USA Niagara Development Corporation directors adopted guidelines and revised guidelines for the use, awarding, monitoring, and reporting of procurement contracts as mandated by the Public Authorities Law. There have been no substantive changes to the executive order and discretion to the public authorities in the past year. ESD finance departments, legal, contract administration, and finance departments have reviewed the guidelines and incorporated the following changes. Clarifying the discretionary purchases for MWBE firms of over $250,000 must be approved by the board. When a member of a pre-qualified firm to one that leaves that firm to one that is not on the pre-qualified list, the pre-qualification follows the member. Clarifying the role of procurement director during a bid evaluation and vendor selection, and establishing a protocol for debriefing unsuccessful bidders post-submission and award. Accordingly, the 2021 guidelines have been revised to incorporate these revisions as well as for consistency changes. On March 25th, 2021, the ESD Board adopted the revised guidelines, which are designed to govern procurement by ESD and its subsidiaries, such as USA Niagara. A copy of the 2021 guidelines are attached. Approval is sought for the adaptation of the guidelines by the USA Niagara Board of Directors. We are requesting that the directors adopt the 2021 guidelines for the use of awarding, monitoring, and procuring all contracts, except that all contracts entered into by the corporation that exceed $150,000 shall be required the approval of the directors. Thank you, Chairwoman.
Thank you, Anthony. I'd like to remind everyone to please state your name before speaking if you so choose. And are there any questions or comments from the directors regarding this item? And I'd like to note that we do not have any comments from the public on this particular item. So if I may, I'd like to entertain a motion for approval.
Chandra Foote, so moved.
And if I may have a second.
Williamson.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Board members, the motion carries. Anthony, our next agenda item is a request to, among other things, adopt the proposed general project plan for the 466 3rd Street Land Use Improvement Project.
Thank you, Chairwoman. We are requesting the board's approval for the 466 3rd Street Land Improvement Project in the city of Niagara Falls. The project involves Cataract Development Corporation's acquisition of a USA Niagara-owned building located at 466 3rd Street is part of a full rehabilitation of the building into a mixed-use development with 5 apartment units and 2 commercial storefronts. Cataract, a Niagara Falls-based development corporation, owns other properties in the 3rd Street neighborhood and has demonstrated a history of rehabilitating once thriving and significant buildings and reviving them to their past glory and charm. This project is consistent with the 2009 City of Niagara Falls Comprehensive Plan, city zoning requirements, and USA Niagara's urban design standards. On August 18th of 2018, the USA Niagara Board of Directors approved acquisition of several properties, including 466 3rd Street, as part of the Strategic Land Acquisition Program funded through the second phase of Governor Cuomo's Buffalo Billion Economic Development Initiative. The property at 466 includes a first-floor commercial space rented by a local pizzeria, a second first-floor vacant restaurant space, and a vacant, mostly gutted second story. It's important to note that no proposals that complied with the redevelopment criteria were received in response to an RFP in 2019. Cataract's proposal was submitted to USA Niagara in November of 2020. The objectives of this project are as follows, and including the supporting of the restoration and rehabilitation of a mixed-use commercial building that contributes to a lively urbane setting and substantial increase in street-level interaction, along with expanding the availability of market-rate residential options, goods and services, and entertainment available to visitors and restaurants and the residents and the general public. The project will result in the developer's $225,000 restoration rehabilitation of the property into a vibrant mixed-use building on the 3rd Street Business District. The developers propose to pay $1 to USA Niagara. It's important to note that we are taking into consideration the necessary repair of a collapsed sewer line from the property, which will be paid for at the developer's expense. Also important to note that this development company has extensive experience in market rate renovations in distressed properties in this 3rd Street neighborhood and returning them to productive use. The USA Niagara staff is recommending that the directors make a determination of responsibility with respect to the proposed preferred developer, make all requisite findings and determines pursuant to sections 10C and 10G of the New York State Urban Development Corporation Act, adopt the proposed general project plan, authorize the holding of a public hearing, authorize the sale of real property, and authorize entering into any necessary agreements and make a determination of no significant effect on the environment and take all related actions. Thank you, Chairwoman.
Thank you, Anthony. Directors, if I may, I'd like to remind you to state your names before speaking. Are there any questions or comments from any of you regarding this item? And I'd also like to note that, yes, I'm sorry, please. Michael?
Director Williamson, just one comment that just happy to see that, proper consideration is still being given to these properties on 3rd Street. This has been a long, ongoing project to just bring 3rd Street up to what it should look like. So just happy to see that we continue to work towards that end.
Thank you, Michael. Anthony, just for refreshing in my mind, what is the other project that Cataract's been involved with on 3rd Street?
They renovated the Tierney Apartments. They renovated apartments at the corner of 3rd and Main. The address is eluding me right now. And then right across from Power City Eatery, the Clapsaddle building, which has a few commercial spaces, and they have had a full occupancy and their market rate apartments above. I believe they have 12 apartments in that building.
Okay. Does anyone else have a comment or a question? We do not, at this present time, have any comments from the public regarding this item. And if there is no more further commentary from the board, I'd like to entertain a motion for approval on this item.
Director Williamson, still a second. Director Williamson.
Thank you, Chandra and Michael. All in favor? Aye.
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 And opposed? Thank you. The motion carries. Anthony, today's this is the final agenda item, our request for authorization for the corporation to enter into a contract amendment for consultant services in connection with the Rainbow Center Adapt Reuse Phase 2 project. Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you, Chairwoman Del Monte. In October of 2010, the USA Niagara Development Corporation Board of Directors approved a general project plan for the development of a new tourism and hospitality center. Promoted as the Niagara Falls Culinary Institute and operated by Niagara County Community College, the Culinary Institute involved the rehabilitation and reuse of approximately 90,000 square feet at the southern end of the former Rainbow Center. The space and land upon which the Culinary Institute occupies were transferred to Niagara County, which will continue to own its property in agreement with the City of Niagara Falls. On December 6th of 2019, USA Niagara and the City of Niagara Falls announced plans to undertake the adaptive reuse of the remaining space as a civic improvement project. Guided by the recommendations of a panel of experts from the Urban Land Institute, the project aims to establish greater public access and walkability, create commercial opportunities, and modernize parking resources to support new and existing businesses at and near the former mall site. These modifications will create up to 150,000 square feet of available space that could be repurposed for uses that would benefit downtown Niagara Falls, including attractions or other entertainment venues or partnerships with the Culinary Institute, such as an expansion of programming. USAN Niagara and the city have signed a project term sheet, which will allow USA Niagara to procure and retain, at its own expense, consultants necessary to develop plans and specifications necessary to allow construction of the project. USA Niagara will contribute all project costs up to a maximum amount to be agreed upon between the city and USA Niagara upon final approval of the project budget and programming. Although USA Niagara solicited proposals for the entirety of the design process, a decision was made to only authorize a contract through the conceptual design and scoping due to budget uncertainties given the size and scope of the project. USA entered into a contract with Marvel Architects for the initial phase on May 5th of 2020. Work on the conceptual design and scoping was completed during July of 2020. Now that work on the initial phase has been completed, we are seeking to award a final design of the project. The scope of work for the consultant team will provide necessary architectural and engineering services for the project. USAN and the city will later select a construction manager for the construction phase of the project, as no such CM scope of work is included in this contract. The contract will include all services to the completion of the contract. The proposed term is 30 months upon award, and the basis or method for payment of this contract will be based on a combination of lump sum payments and time and materials not to exceed $4,305,663. Funding source for this is the New York State budget appropriations made available through the Buffalo Regional Innovation Cluster, also known as the Buffalo Billion. No USAN corporate funds will be used to fund this contract. We are asking the directors to, 1, make a determination of responsibility with respect to the proposed contractor, and 2, authorize the corporation to enter into a contract amendment with Marvel for an amount not to exceed $4,305,663 and authorize the taking of all related actions. Thank you, Chairwoman.
Thank you, Anthony. Again, directors, please announce yourself before speaking. And are there any questions or comments regarding this particular item? Again, I'd like to mention that we do not have any comments from the public on this particular item. And so that allows me to entertain a motion for approval. May I have one, please?
Director Williamson, so moved.
If I could have a second.
Director Bridges, second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. The motion carries. That concludes our meeting. I think that's a pretty good introduction for Chandra and Scott. So there being no further business, may I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
Chandra Foot, so moved.
Give me a second.
Director Bridges, second.
Thank you, and the motion carries. And again, thank you, Chandra and Scott, for participating, along with Michael Williamson, again, one of our best board members, and for being a part of today's meeting. So have a good day. And thank you, Debbie and the staff and Anthony, for putting all this together.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Thank you, board members.
Have a good day.
Thank you, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye.